Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. It is a depressing day. I got up today and this is what I woke up to. We got 3 inches of snow, the first snowfall of the year. God, I am not a fan of snow. It is a depressing thing. We went from having like temperatures that were too warm to temperatures now that are like gonna lock us up. The backwaters froze over yesterday. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get out again for the year. I will definitely try. We do have on Saturday, we are supposed to have like a 40-degree day that might be sunny. So if I can get out, I will get out. Probably gonna have to use the old little flat bottom. I took my boat in yesterday to have some just kind of a complete overhaul done on it, make sure it's in complete tip-top shape for the next owner who is yet to be found. So if you're looking for a 2023 Skeeter FXR20, give me a call. I will hook you up with a really good price. So I need to get that moved because the new boat showed up this week as well. So that is getting starting to get rigged and prepped. I will let you guys know what that boat is. I've had a lot of questions regarding it. I'm not going to unveil it quite yet, but the new boat did show up. So I got to get rid of the 2023 Skeeter that I was fishing out of. But because I'm sitting here in a basement looking out at a very snowy day, you know what that means. We're going to do some rod building. I've got here, this here is an NEPS 78 MLF, so it's a 6.5-foot medium light fast action spinning rod that I want to build for jerkbaits. That's right, for jerkbaits. Now, if you watch my channel on a regular basis, you probably know that I like to throw my jerkbaits on light spinning gear. I do that for a bunch of different reasons, and I'll show you on the water, hopefully on Saturday. We'll put it to use and catch a few fish. And I can give you the exact reasons why I really like to use spinning gear with my jerkbaits and show you how it functions. But first, we need to build this thing. This guy is just the butt grip, just stuck on the end. There is nothing on the blank. So we're gonna start putting this together for you. Basically, a spinning rod build is pretty straightforward. All you need is a butt grip. You need a reel seat. 2 ends to your reel seat. These are nubbins. That's what I like to use. We're going to get those glued into place. First, I did already mark. Hopefully you can see I've marked. I think you can probably see it, little China markers. Just marking where the guides are going to go, where all the reel seat and everything is going to be mounted. And we're going to get gluing that stuff into place. I'll show you a little bit of that, and then we'll get the guide strung up and hopefully put the epoxy on today. And get this in the drying rack so that if I get a chance on Saturday, I will take it out, show you guys how to fish a jerkbait with it. So I've got everything laid out here the way I want it. I've done a couple of steps without you watching because I do them in every rod build video and I didn't think I'd have to do it. But in this case, I used my CRB spine finder. I marked the spine of the blank, and the reason I do that is I want my rod to perform at its top level. And a couple of big things about building on the spine, in my opinion, it gives you better casting accuracy because the rod performs the way it should when you cast, and it really just holds up better in the long term. You don't get the twisting of the rod blank that can crack some of the guide epoxy and things like that. So it generally tends to lead to better performance from your rod and can lead to a longer lifespan for your rod. So I like to build on the spine personally. And then in this case, so I've got my components here. You can see my nubbins, both my nubbins fit. I was able just to push the rear butt grip on, so I don't need to do anything before gluing that because it's already the right size. But my nubbins did not fit on the blank. So I ended up taking my CRB. You can see I've got a reamer set right here. This is the CRB reamer set, a bunch of different size reamers. It's basically a tapered rod with sandpaper that goes up it. So when you put your drill on, you can put that in the hole of your nubbin and ream out the nubbin or your grips to whatever size you need. So I've done that already. The other thing I did is I added my arbors to build up the rod blank so that my spinning reel seat would fit on it. So most spinning reel seats are made to fit all sizes of rod blanks. It's kind of a one size fits all. But the reason for that is because the hole is too big, and therefore you need to build the rod blank up to the correct size to get a snug fit on your reel seat. So I took my CRB tape dispenser right here. I've got a bunch of different types of tape, and I just arbored up 3 different areas so that when I slide my reel seat on, you can see you get kind of a nice snug fit. That'll go down to the first nubbin that I need to glue on, and then when I slide the second one in, this will be the completed whole reel handle seat area. So we need to glue that into place first before we can start putting our guides on. So I'm gonna mix up a little glue here. I've got my 2-part Pro Paste. This is the fast set formula. So you've got a resin and then you've got your hardener. Mix these up in equal quantities, and then I'm just gonna spread them on you know, to the areas where the nubbins are gonna be. I'm gonna spread glue across the arbors and slide everything in, clean off any excess glue, and then I need to let this set for a little bit before I can work on the guides. So let's get started on that. I've got my glue 2-part epoxy over the arbors, and I want to show you one little tip. I just put a piece of tape over the thread of my reel seat, and the reason for that is when I slide it down, I'm going to get excess glue all over the place, and I don't want it to get inside of those threads. So when I slide it down, I'll spin this around into place. So after I get over that last arbor, I actually like to remove it. I don't want to slide it all the way onto the nubbin because that excess glue could actually get on that nubbin. So I'm going to pull it off before I get there. It should, for the most part, come off. So I've got a pretty clean thing. If I can get the tape off. So I've got a clean edge, and then when I have that, I can just take whatever I want to really clean up that edge. So I'm just going to clean up that edge. Just like that. Slide it back all the way into place, and I have very little excess glue to clean up, so I want to make sure that was pretty perfect. I want to make sure I'm lined up right. I'm just going to clean up that little bit of extra. I've got here a couple of, these are just alcohol swabs. This is just a small little cleanup, so I'm going to get that cleaned up before it sets, because remember, we're working with the fast setting epoxy. All right, just like that. So we've got a nice clean edge. Now I just need to add a little bit more of our glue, and I'll slide the nubbin into place. All good. We'll let that dry, and we'll come back down, and we'll start putting the guides on. I forgot I was making a video. I sat down, I started threading a bunch of the rod already. Today is Halloween, October 31st, so the boys are going to want to go trick-or-treating tonight after school, so I'm trying to rush to get this done. Forgot I was making a video, but you can see I've started doing the thread work. Got a couple of threads down at the bottom, got my drop shot bait keeper on. This is the one I really like to use on all of my rods, because when I'm practicing for tournaments and don't have a hook on, I can snap the bait under that drop shot bait keeper. As you can see right here, I've got a nice little Matt Steven Fishing decal that Mud Hole made for me. If you want to have your own custom decals made, you can do that at mudhole.com. All of the components here you can get at mudhole.com. The MHX blanks, all the different guides. I'll put that all in the video description for you so that you can go there and order it yourself. I'm going to get back to getting this threaded. So hopefully I can get the epoxy on. If I can't, I'll do that tonight after trick-or-treating so that this rod will be ready to go. Hopefully for this weekend. The sun has come out. I am hoping it does a good job melting all the snow. Hopefully we got enough warmth still in the ground to melt it, because I really want to, I just don't want to see the snow anymore. All right, I'm back to this. So I was able to get all of the guides threaded up before we had to go where, Hank?
Trick-or-treating.
That's right. Dad tax. All right, you got to go to bed. So now we got to put our epoxy on the guides. Yeah, you can leave it there. I might eat a few more. So we got to put our 2-part epoxy on the rod. So I'm going to get that all mixed up. I'll get the brush out. I'll start applying that. And then we're going to let it drive overnight and it'll be ready to go. So I just mixed up our 2-part epoxy. Now here's one quick tip for you. Anytime you're putting on your epoxy onto your guides, you know, I generally tend to buy these really cheap disposable brushes, just like these. Because they're so cheap, one thing that you want to do is make sure that you pull out like any bad brushes, because a lot of times there's loose ones, and if you can see, you probably can't see it, but there's like little filaments and things that are coming out of the brush. So I always like to kind of just, you know, fan it out so that if there's any loose bristles, they come out, and if there's any threads and little filament things, they come out, because otherwise that'll get in your epoxy as soon as you dip it in, and then you pretty much can't get that out. And a lot of times you don't even see it until it's too late, until it's been dried, and then you look at it and it should be clear, but you see little pieces in there. Just a quick little tip, and it can save you some headaches down the road. What a cluster. Just came out on the water to do the intro of the fishing portion of our MHX NEPS 78 MLF jerkbait rod. And first time I filmed a video in the boat, I set up a little ring camera to hold my phone to do the intro, position the boat, and the phone, the whole camera stand and everything fell right out of the back of the boat. Still not used to the little boat, but I think my phone works fine. We'll see. I gotta let it dry off. Sounds a little bit odd right now, but yeah, so we're out here just rigged up. This is the brand new MHX NEPS 78 MLF. It's a 6.5 foot medium light fast action rod that I use for jerkbaits. So we're gonna put this thing to use, show you how to fish it. You know, I've got it rigged up 6-pound fluorocarbon, yes, 6-pound 100% Berkeley fluorocarbon line, a Revo SX spinning reel right here, one of the brand new ones. I'm a huge fan of the new Revo series, and it matches up so well with this rod. So let's put it to use. I just want to show you and kind of walk you through why I like to throw my jerkbaits on it. It's a There he is. He slammed that thing. Not a giant, but a nice start. Slammed her. Nice, beautiful cold water colors. So one of the keys to this rod is the length. So if you watch when I jerk this, so I always crank her down pretty good, get her down to the diving depth. And then I kind of rotate my body and I'm almost just letting the rod just rest in my hand. And I'm like snapping it, but I'm not really trying to drive it. I'm basically snapping the rod, which is getting it to walk back and forth, but it's really not moving it much. And the key here is the 6.5 foot rod. So several things. The 6.5 foot rod is short enough where it's really not pulling that bait out of the strike zone. Meaning if you go with a 7.5 or a long rod, every time I snap it, I'm moving the bait further. I really don't want to do that. With a jerkbait, you want to keep it in the strike zone. So the shorter rod for me works really well from that standpoint. So it looks like I'm working it really hard. I'm not moving it. I'm actually walking it back and forth. So that's a huge key. The other thing is this thing has got a really soft tip. So you can see I'm jerking it. It really folds in. So it's a fast action, but because it's a medium light, the rod itself has a lot of tip to it. That's a very soft tip. So what that means is when the fish hit it, they're gonna get the bait. So when I jerk it, I basically just try to have a controlled slack line, and you're just watching for that bite. And like in that last case, I mean, my line just really bounced real well. But having that soft tip allows me to really work the bait hard, but keep it in the same area without moving it too fast. So when you've got a specific strike zone, whether it's I'm fishing break lines, maybe you've got an isolated weed patch, maybe you got a brush pile, you can work the bait and get it to slash and walk back and forth, but you're not moving it out of the strike zone. That's the key. That's why I love throwing the shorter rod. Got him. Good one too. Look at, there's 3 more good ones with them. You see them swimming up over here. There's a whole bunch of them. There's another one, 4 of them. That was one where I was just getting to reel it in. I had stopped it close to the boat. I just happened to see him out there. Come here. You are cold. It's a nice 2.5. That was awesome. I just happened to turn around and see him behind it right before I went to reel it in. But that's one of the keys to this guy too. This rod, I can make these super long casts to get this bait down. I mean, you guys can see the boat's in 15. There's probably 8 right there. It's crystal clear water. And with the spinning rod, it loads up on the cast. I can just really load, like use the blank to slingshot my bait out there. And with 6 pound test, I can really fire it a long ways, which, helps me get my bait down into that 10-foot range, which is really where I want to be. I mean, the fish are so cold, they're not coming up for it. I got to get down to their range. And you'll run across these little packs of them and they're not really aggressive. What they're doing is they're just sunbathing. They're literally just kind of sunbathing on the brake lines, trying to get a little bit of warmth. And if you can get your bait down to them, you can get them to react, but you really got to get down to where they're at. They're not going to come up to a bait that's in 4 or 6 foot of water. But in this case, I'm throwing that bait over 100 feet, which is not an easy thing to do with a jerkbait. I mean, I know we've got good weighted jerkbaits now, but with 6 pound tests and a spinning rod, I can fire this thing so much further than I can a bait caster. So I feel like I'm much more efficient anytime I'm using this setup. I mean, I'm a really big fan of throwing jerkbaits, and I feel like I've really dialed this in over the years. I started throwing the traditional jerkbait gear, and I just think this is so much easier on the body, as well as just much more efficient
as a you know, from a fishing standpoint, like, it really just does seem like I'm a better jerkbait fisherman with it. And I've spent a lot of days fishing with other guys in the boat throwing traditional jerkbait gear, you know, 10-pound fluorocarbon on a bait casting setup, and I'm out casting them dramatically and out producing them by, you know, it's almost like 2 to 1, I would say, on a normal day. And I really don't feel like I'm doing anything crazy. It's just a matter of me being able to fish more of the water and keep my bait in the strike zone longer. And I've gone through a lot of different rods over the years, and really what turned me onto this is I was using, back in the day, I was throwing a 6.5 foot St. Croix Premier medium light. And you know, I tried a lot of different blanks trying to match that, because that was the one that I really liked. And that's where this NEPS 7.8 medium light fast came in. I mean, it's just a sensitive rod, but it's not oversensitive. You don't need a super high-end rod for this. You really almost don't even want to feel them. You know, your bites are going to happen one of two ways generally. You're either going to get a really defined pop, or you're just going to go to jerk it and they're going to be there. In either case, you don't really need to feel them, because our hooks are so sharp on jerk baits these days that your bait is, all you gotta do is make contact with the fish, and you're gonna at least skin hook them. So you don't need a big heavy rod. You don't need anything that's to drive the hooks home. You just need to make contact with their mouth. And then at that point, the soft rod just absorbs the battle too. And as long as you've got a good reel with a good drag system, you know, you're basically just playing the fish out. I mean, there's nothing for the fish to get caught on out here. It's just a matter of, you know, I'm gonna let the fish tire themselves out. You just keep a little pressure on them, let them take some drag, and you're gonna be good to go. I don't know, it's one of my favorite ways to fish. It's kind of, I've always equated it to jerkbait, or to bobber fishing, because it's almost like you're not watching a bobber, but you're watching your line. You see that little tick? That's your bite, just like your bobber going down. There's another one. What do we got? Another decent one. He's got it really good too. So with 6-pound tests, I don't really want to swing them. Come here. Another 15-incher. Oh, I love it. I got the lake to myself, and nobody's out here. The nice part is, I talk about this on the channel all the time, like you don't have to be out here super early generally this time of year. The water's 48 degrees. The bite generally is like, I don't know, 10 to 3. That's usually like the best bite. The best window is always around that 1 o'clock time frame, I feel like. But you know, you can get out like I am right now. We just had some turnover. The fish are pretty scattered, but a jerkbait is such a good bait to cover water. Got you. Thought there was one behind it. Should say I felt one behind it. Ah, another little keeper. Oh, you got it weird. Nice little black spot on his lip. Still eating it good. Another small, 14 and a half, 15 incher. All right, guys. Well, I think you have seen how good this guy right here, the MHX Elite Pro NEPS 78 ML 6.5 footer. This guy is the deal. Match it up 6 pound, 100% Berkeley fluorocarbon. Get yourself a Revo SX, a Berkeley Stunna, or whatever your favorite crankbait is. Get out there. We still got some time left on the water. And thanks for watching, guys. Check out mudhole.com for all your rod building supplies, and they'll answer any of the questions you might have. I'm gonna fish a little bit longer here, load up, and get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and stay tuned. New video coming out tomorrow.